Leah Chen never imagined her life would change because of a single glass of juice. The hotel ballroom shimmered with crystal lights and expensive laughter. Leah stood near the corner, fingers nervously twisting the strap of her simple beige dress. She didn't belong here. Everyone else wore designer gowns and tailored suits, while she looked like a misplaced extra from another world. "Relax, Leah," her cousin Celine said with a dazzling smile. "This is a networking dinner. You need exposure." Leah hesitated. "You said it was just a family gathering." Celine laughed softly and pressed a glass of juice into her hand. "Don't be so tense. Drink this. You'll feel better." Trusting her cousin, Leah took a sip. She didn't notice Celine's eyes gleam with calculation. Across the room, Evan Lee stood like an untouchable statue. Tall, sharp-featured, dressed in a perfectly tailored black suit, he exuded cold authority. CEO of Lee Holdings, he was known for his ruthless business sense and complete disinterest in social events. He only attended because this dinner involved a major overseas partnership. "Mr. Lee," someone said eagerly, "may I introduce?" Evan raised a hand. "I'm not interested." His voice was calm, distant, emotionless. Celine watched him from afar, heart pounding. Tonight, she would finally catch his attention. Minutes later, Leah began to feel dizzy. The room tilted, lights blurring into streaks. She reached for the table but missed. "Leah!" Celine stepped forward, pretending concern. "Are you okay?" I feel strange," Leah whispered. Celine smiled inwardly. "You must be tired. Come, I'll help you rest." She led Leah toward the elevator, high heels clicking like a countdown. Meanwhile, Evan finished a tense phone call and turned only to see a young woman stumble into him. Warm hands clutched his suit jacket. "I'm sorry," Leah murmured, eyes unfocused. Evan stiffened. He hated being touched. Before he could step back, Celine appeared, bowing slightly. "Mr. Lee, please forgive my cousin. She's shy. I prepared her especially for you." Evan's gaze turned icy. "Prepared?" Celine forced a laugh. "She's a gift. To thank you for your support of our family business." Silence fell like ice shattering. Evan's eyes darkened. "Get her away from me." Celine pretended to look embarrassed. "She's already here. Please be gentle." She pushed Leah forward and disappeared into the crowd. Leah blinked, finally realizing something was very wrong. "What, who gift?" Evan caught her before she collapsed. His jaw clenched. "You're drugged," he said flatly. Fear surged through Leah. "I didn't know. I swear. Please don't." He studied her trembling form. No calculation. No seduction. Just raw panic. His voice lowered. "Who did this?" "I don't know," she whispered, tears forming. Evan cursed under his breath. He hated schemes. Hated manipulation even more. He picked her up without warning. Gasps rippled through the ballroom. "Mr. Lee," someone called. Evan ignored them and carried Leah straight to the elevator. Inside his private suite upstairs, he placed her gently on the sofa. He poured water, helping her drink slowly. "Stay awake," he ordered. Leah nodded weakly. "I'm sorry. I didn't mean to cause trouble." Her apology startled him. Most women would be crying, begging, clinging. She only looked ashamed. He called his assistant. "Ryan, check the cameras. Find out who brought her." "Yes, sir." Leah hugged a cushion, trying to steady herself. "I can leave when I feel better." Evan studied her again. Simple dress. No makeup. Soft voice. "You're not leaving tonight," he said. "It's not safe." Her eyes widened. "I don't want to stay with you." A corner of his lips twitched. "Relax. I'm not interested." She flushed deeply, embarrassed. The medicine slowly wore off. Leah finally stood, bowing awkwardly. "Thank you for helping me." Evan turned away, staring at the city lights beyond the window. "Sleep in the guest room," he said. "Tomorrow, we settle this." Leah hesitated, then nodded. As the door closed behind her, Evan loosened his tie, chest tight. For the first time in years, anger wasn't directed at a business rival. It was personal. And for the first time, a woman had entered his world not by choice, but fate. Morning sunlight slipped quietly through the floor-to-ceiling windows of the penthouse, falling across the neatly arranged guest room. Leah Chen stirred slowly, her head throbbing. For a few seconds, panic rushed through her, then memories from the night before came flooding back. The hotel. The lights. Her cousin's smile. The cold man who had carried her away. She sat up abruptly, clutching the blanket. The room was spotless, minimal, and clearly expensive. Nothing about it felt warm, yet she felt oddly safe. I really stayed in a stranger's house, she thought, heart racing. After washing up, Leah stepped cautiously into the living room. The space was vast and silent, decorated in shades of black, grey, and steel. It felt more like an art gallery than a home. Evan Lee stood near the kitchen counter, already dressed in a crisp white shirt and dark trousers, sleeves rolled up. He was reading something on his tablet, sharp and composed, as if last night never happened. "You're awake," he said without looking up. Leah froze. "Good morning." He turned his gaze to her, eyes calm but unreadable. "Sit." She obeyed immediately, perching on the edge of the sofa like a nervous student. "My assistant investigated last night," Evan said. "You were brought here by Celine Chen." Leah's fingers clenched. "She's my cousin. She drugged you," he continued flatly, "and tried to use you to gain my favor." Leah's face drained of color. "No, she wouldn't." Evan watched her carefully. Silence stretched. Then Leah lowered her head, voice shaking. "She's always wanted a better life. I just didn't think she'd go that far." Evan leaned back, arms crossed. "You have two options." Her heart jumped. "Options? One," he said coolly, "I send you to the police and testify that you were involved." Her breath hitched. Tears welled instantly. "Two," he continued, "you stay." She looked up sharply. "Stay?" "Temporarily," Evan added. "As my assistant." Leah stared at him, stunned. "But I don't know anything about business." "I don't need skills," he said. "I need someone reliable. And you owe me an explanation for the trouble you caused." Her lips parted. "I didn't mean to." "I know," he interrupted. "That's why this is an offer, not a threat." Leah thought of her tuition, her sick mother, and the part-time jobs barely paying rent. She bowed deeply. "Thank you, Mr. Lee. I'll work hard." Evan frowned. "Don't bow." She straightened immediately. Ryan arrived soon after, stopping short when he saw Leah. "This is," he asked. "My temporary assistant," Evan replied. Ryan blinked. Then smiled warmly at Leah. "Nice to meet you." She bowed again instinctively. Ryan glanced at Evan, amused. Throughout the day, Leah followed Evan like a shadow. She organized documents, made coffee, and took notes carefully, even though she barely understood the meetings. She made mistakes, but she listened attentively and learned fast. At noon, Evan noticed she hadn't eaten. "Why didn't you take lunch?" he asked. "I didn't want to waste time," she said softly. He frowned and ordered food without asking. When the meals arrived, Leah stared at the luxurious spread. "This is too much." "Eat," he said shortly. She obeyed, chewing quietly. Something tugged at Evan's chest. That evening, Leah stayed behind to clean the desk. Evan watched from the doorway. "You can go," he said. "I'll finish this first." He paused. No one had ever stayed voluntarily. Later, Evan passed the kitchen and stopped. Leah was washing cups, humming softly. The sound felt strange. Warm. "Why are you always apologizing?" he asked suddenly. She startled. "Because I caused trouble." He looked at her seriously. "You didn't." Leah's eyes widened. Before she could respond, Evan turned away. That night, Evan stood by his window again. The city glowed beneath him. For the first time, the penthouse didn't feel completely cold. And Leah, lying awake in the guest room, pressed a hand to her chest. She didn't know why. But staying here already felt dangerous. In a way she couldn't explain. By the third day, Leah Chen had learned one important rule inside Lee Holdings. Silence traveled faster than elevators. She noticed it the moment she stepped out of Evan Lee's private office. Conversations paused. Eyes followed her. A few women whispered behind perfectly manicured hands. Is that her? The one from the hotel? I heard she stayed overnight. Leah's grip tightened around the folder she was holding. She kept her head down and walked faster, pretending she didn't hear anything. But each word felt like a needle. Inside the office, Evan stood by the window, phone pressed to his ear. No, he said coldly. I don't care what the media thinks. Handle it. He hung up and turned only to see Leah standing stiffly by the door. Something wrong? He asked. She hesitated. No, Mr. Lee. He narrowed his eyes. She was a terrible liar. Speak. She swallowed. People are talking. I can leave if it affects your reputation. Evan's expression hardened instantly. Who said that? No one directly, she said quickly. I just thought. You thought wrong. He walked past her and opened the door. Everyone, Evan said, voice calm but sharp, this is my assistant. Any rumors about her are false. If I hear another one, the source will be fired. The office froze. Leah stared at him in shock. Evan closed the door and turned back to her. You work for me. That's all. Her eyes burned. Thank you. He waved it off, but something in his chest stirred. That evening, Leah stayed late again. She noticed Evan rubbing his temples while staring at spreadsheets. Mr. Lee, she said softly, you skipped dinner. I'm not hungry. She hesitated, then spoke carefully. May I cook something? He looked at her, surprised. You can cook. I cook for my mother every day. 10 minutes later, the penthouse kitchen filled with a gentle aroma, simple tomato egg noodles. Evan watched silently as she placed the bowl in front of him. This is very plain, he remarked. She smiled nervously. But it's warm. He took a bite. Something clicked. It wasn't extraordinary, but it felt human. After that night, changes happened quietly. A new coat appeared in Leah's room after she mentioned the office was cold. Her phone was replaced after hers froze during a call. A driver was assigned, without explanation. Ryan noticed everything. She's changing him, Ryan muttered to himself one afternoon. Meanwhile, Celine Chen stood in a cafe across the street from Lee Holdings, nails digging into her cup. That should be my place, she hissed. She pulled out her phone and sent an anonymous email to a gossip blog, photos from the hotel night, cropped carefully. The next morning, headlines exploded. Mysterious woman lives with cold CEO. Leah's face drained when she saw the article. I should resign, she said quietly. Evan stared at the screen, fury cold and controlled. No, he said. He stood and took her hand. Leah froze. He led her through the lobby, past reporters, without letting go. Mr. Lee, cameras flashed. Evan stopped and looked straight into them. She is under my protection, he said. Any further defamation will face legal consequences. He pulled Leah close. Her heart pounded wildly. Back inside the elevator, silence hung heavy. Evan released her hand slowly. I'm sorry, Leah whispered. He looked at her intensely. Don't apologize for existing. That night, rain fell softly over the city. Leah stood on the balcony, staring at the lights. Evan joined her, handing her a warm drink. For sleeping better, he said. Their fingers brushed. Neither moved away. The distance between them felt thin, fragile, unspoken, and dangerous. The rain did not stop overnight. Morning came wrapped in grey clouds, the city below drowned in mist. Leah Chen woke earlier than usual, her thoughts tangled. Ever since the headlines, something between her and Evan Lee had shifted, quietly, deeply. At breakfast, Evan barely touched his coffee. You didn't sleep, Leah said before she could stop herself. He glanced at her, surprised. Neither did you. She lowered her gaze. I keep thinking. I cause you trouble. Evan set his cup down. You are not the problem. She looked up, searching his face. People don't like what they don't understand, he continued calmly. I'm used to that. There was something heavy in his tone. At the office, Tension followed Evan everywhere. Board members whispered. Partners called non-stop. Yet he handled everything with his usual precision until a meeting with his uncle ended abruptly. "You're becoming careless," his uncle said sharply. "Personal matters are clouding your judgment." Evan's eyes turned ice cold. "My judgment built this company." He walked out before anyone could respond. Leah waited outside the conference room. When she saw his clenched jaw, she stood immediately. "Mr. Lee. Cancel my afternoon schedule," he said. She followed him into the elevator, worry evident. "Where are we going?" "Home." Inside the penthouse, Evan loosened his tie and sat heavily on the sofa. The image startled Leah. This powerful man suddenly looked exhausted. She poured him tea, hands steady. "Your family?" she asked gently. His fingers tightened around the cup. "They taught me not to trust," he said flatly. "My parents died when I was young. My uncle took over everything. Tried to erase me." Leah sat beside him without thinking. "They said I was too soft," Evan continued. "That feelings make you weak." She shook her head. "Feelings make you human." He looked at her, then really looked. Silence stretched, thick and fragile. "Why are you kind to me?" he asked quietly. Leah smiled faintly. "Because you helped me when no one else would." He reached out unconsciously, brushing her hair behind her ear. The world narrowed. Slowly, he leaned closer. Leah's breath hitched. Just before their lips touched, Evan pulled back abruptly. "I shouldn't," he said hoarsely. Leah nodded, heart racing. That evening, Celine's plan unfolded. More photos surfaced, this time showing Evan and Leah entering the penthouse together, twisted captions implying a paid relationship. Investors panicked. Shares dipped. Evan stared at the screen, face unreadable. Ryan burst in. "This is deliberate." Evan's eyes darkened. "I know who did it." Leah stood frozen at the doorway, overhearing everything. "I ruined him." That night, she packed quietly. Evan entered the room and saw the suitcase. "What are you doing?" he demanded. "I can't stay," she said softly. "You'll lose everything." He grabbed her wrist. "Don't decide for me." Tears slipped down her cheeks. "I care about you. That's why I have to go." He released her slowly, eyes stormy. "Then go," he said coldly. Leah flinched, but bowed deeply. "I'm sorry." The door closed behind her. Evan stood alone in the silent penthouse. For the first time, the walls he had built didn't protect him. They collapsed. The penthouse had never felt so empty. Evan Lee stood in the middle of the living room, staring at the closed door Leah had walked through only hours ago. Her presence still lingered in the faint scent of tea, in the folded blanket on the sofa, in the quiet that now pressed heavily against his chest. "Then go." His own words echoed mercilessly. He clenched his fists. For years, Evan had mastered control. Control over markets, over people, over himself. Yet the moment Leah left, everything slipped out of his grasp. He didn't sleep. At dawn, Ryan found him still standing by the window, suit unchanged, eyes bloodshot. "She left with nothing," Ryan reported carefully. "Just a suitcase." Evan's jaw tightened. "Find her." Ryan hesitated. "Sir, the board meeting starts in 20 minutes. Evan's gaze turned sharp. "Postpone it. That meeting decides whether investors pull out." Evan grabbed his coat. "Then they can wait." Ryan had never seen him like this. Meanwhile, Leah Chen sat on a wooden bench at the bus station, suitcase at her feet. Her phone buzzed endlessly, unknown numbers, news alerts, but she didn't look. She thought of her mother's smile. Of her small rented room. Of the life she almost forgot she belonged to. Her chest hurt. "This is for the best," she told herself. Back at Lee Holdings, chaos exploded. An emergency article accused Evan of using company resources for personal affairs. The board demanded answers. His uncle stood at the head of the table, face cold with satisfaction. "You let a woman compromise the company," he said. "Step down temporarily." Evan laughed, low and dangerous. "I built this company when you tried to sell it," he said. "You don't get to remove me." He slammed a file onto the table. Investigate the source of the leak, Evan continued. And check my cousin's accounts. Faces paled. By afternoon, Ryan burst into Evan's office. Celine Chen, he said. She paid the bloggers. The drug at the party traces back to her assistant. Evan's eyes burned with fury and regret. I pushed her away, he murmured. He drove himself for the first time in years. Rain blurred the streets as Evan searched places Leah had mentioned casually: the old bookstore near her school, the noodle shop she loved, the hospital where her mother volunteered. At the hospital entrance, he finally saw her. Leah stood under the awning, umbrella broken, hair damp. Leah, Evan called. She turned slowly, shock freezing her face. He walked toward her, breath uneven. I was wrong. Her eyes filled instantly. Mr. Lee. No, he interrupted. Evan. He bowed to her. I believed lies and hurt you, he said hoarsely. Please forgive me. People stared. He didn't care. I already cleared your name, he continued. The truth is coming out. She shook her head, tears falling. Why would you do this? Because losing you hurts more than losing everything else. Her heart shattered and healed all at once. He reached for her trembling hands. Come back. Not as an assistant. As the woman I love. The rain softened. Leah sobbed, nodding. And in that moment, Evan Lee finally broke. And chose love. The rain had stopped, but the city still glistened. Evan held Leah's hands as if letting go would cause her to disappear again. Her eyes were red from crying, but there was warmth there now, real, steady warmth. Come home with me, he said softly. Leah hesitated only a second before nodding. This time, when she stepped into the penthouse, it felt different. The cold, sharp edges seemed to soften. The lights were warmer. Fresh flowers stood on the table, white lilies, her favorite, though she never remembered telling him. You noticed? She asked quietly. Evan looked slightly embarrassed. You talk in your sleep. She laughed through her tears. The following days unfolded like a dream. Evan publicly released evidence clearing Leah's name. Celine was exposed for drugging her cousin and manipulating the media. The police investigation moved fast. Social platforms that once attacked Leah now apologized. Celine stood in the office hallway one last time, face pale. I loved you, she said to Evan. He didn't look at her. You loved power. Security escorted her away. Leah watched silently, feeling no satisfaction, only relief. At Lee Holdings, Evan did something no one expected. He took Leah's hand during a press conference. This is Leah Chen, he announced calmly. My partner. Gasps erupted. She is not a gift, Evan continued. She is the reason I remembered how to be human. The headlines changed overnight. Cold CEO falls in love. At home, Evan spoiled Leah shamelessly. He moved her into the master bedroom, insisting the guest room was too small. He cooked with her every evening, even though he was terrible at it. He listened when she spoke. Remembered every detail. Held her hand in public without hesitation. One evening, Leah stood in front of a wardrobe filled with clothes. This is too much, she protested. Evan wrapped his arms around her from behind. I owe you a lifetime. She turned, smiling. You don't need to buy everything. He leaned down, forehead against hers. Then I'll give you time. Attention. Loyalty. Her heart melted completely. Weeks later, Evan took her to the rooftop garden of the building where they first met. Lanterns glowed softly in the night air. He knelt. I was taught love was a weakness, Evan said. You proved it's my strength. He opened the ring box. Leah covered her mouth, tears spilling freely. Yes, she whispered before he could even ask. He stood and pulled her into his arms, kissing her gently, reverently. Below them, the city buzzed. But in that moment, the world belonged only to them. From a gift meant to be used. To a woman loved, cherished, and spoiled rotten. And for Evan Lee, love was no longer cold. It was home.